Yo, what is up, everybody? It is I, your boy Nerdtaku, back at it again with my lovely daughter, and she's excited. I'm excited. My wife already read this chapter. She's trying to spoil me. I'm excited, you know. So I'm ready. I'm ready to do this, so that way I don't get spoiled. Um, and I'm ready to check it out. Yeah. Hi. You're excited, right? Yeah. Um, we're excited to see what's going on with this chapter. Because last chapter kind of ended crazy. Emu was kind of plotting on the side in Gunko's body. So, you know what? I'm ready for it. Because there's a lot going on here. A lot going on that is mounting. And mounting in a meaningful way, I feel, to where we could be getting some serious lore drops, some serious information, and just overall, like, there's a lot of shit going on right now. So, as always, hold on, I'm gonna move my camera just slightly. Okay. Oh, do you wanna grab the mic? Um, as always, if you look, oh, I didn't even do it. Woof. Woof. All right, here we go. And boom. There we go. As always, if you look down in the right hand corner, you will see my logo, but you'll also see the chapter that I'm reading so you can follow along. It is hidden slightly, but you can still kind of see. So that way you can enjoy and read along with me. Um, so, without further ado, let's get into it, right? You ready to get into it? Yeah, definitely. Hey, Taku, glad I caught a stream. Saw you call in to TOPT the other week. Yeah, I definitely did. I graced them. Just kidding. I really enjoy calling into those guys. I love hearing their thoughts on theories and stuff like that. I gave them my Don Krieg is the secret 10th Titanic captain. Um, and it was great. I loved it. They couldn't really disprove it, which is what as a theorist you really want. Is like there's no besides for the fact that they'd be like, well, Don Krieg isn't that strong, right? Like he doesn't have hockey or anything. It's like we haven't seen him. We literally have gone what damn near 1,200 chapters without seeing the dude. Yes, without seeing the dude. So it's like the last and the only time we have seen him since his introduction and getting beaten by Luffy was literally at Pirate Island. The rest of it is all just conjecture. And if he's made it to the new world, you gotta have hockey to be in the new world. That's just like a prerequisite. That's why Luffy got stomped at Sabaody because they were like, "Yo, you." Even Oda was like, "Yo, I need to get Luffy packed up slightly so that way he can realize he's weak." You know, the fact they're both alive is beyond strange. Yeah, yeah. The fact that Gin, Pearl, even, and Don Krieg are all alive means that his crew went to the Grand Line and they made it to the New World. There's nothing that can disprove the fact that they're alive, even though Gin should have been dead because of all the poison in his veins that Don Krieg hit him with. So I'm just saying, there's a lot pointing to the fact that they had to go find a doctor, right? What's the best place that's known for doctors, you know? Yeah, Drum Kingdom. And then after Drum Kingdom, he would have gone through like normal. And there was a pirate there at the time, Blackbeard. So, I don't know. Could be crazy. Maybe it's insane. But you never know. Um, but Anyway, without further ado, let's get into this chapter because I am so ready for this. And I know that Noelle is ready for this. So let's do it. So we get into our first thing is, a giant color spread, which is really great. And it's got all the Straw Hats doing their thing and moving forward. And if I'm correct, this is also the cover of a volume pre-time skip that Oda felt like he should redraw post-time skip. So, super cool. And then, and I believe that the live action just redid that same thing too, but I don't see that here. Anyway. Okay. So, we get back to the action and we see, we see the dragon blowing stuff up, and this is chapter 1176 with Pride. And you see Frankie go, yow, what kind of party's going on over there? And then you see Frankie say, what you doing, Lilith? That was the box Vegapunk was in, right? And Lilith says, oh, I'm glad I left it right here by the school. It's the ODC, the Omni Drain Converters. And it says, their hover function should work on Elbaf. And Bonnie's on top of Frankie's head. And Lilith says, just feel. It's everywhere all around us. That's energy. Have you ever run off a more potent fuel than cola? And Frankie's like, huh? Let's see here. Interesting. And then we see the Straw Hat saying, no, the fire's spreading. It's a nightmare. The whole world's coming to an end today. Did you see that dragon? It's bigger than Kaido. And Usopp says, but that was clearly Luffy riding on its back, right? So is this dragon on our side? And Nami says, that idiot, without a thought in the world. Zeus, are you ready? And he's like, sure thing. And then it looks like Jinbei says, it's quite fearsome, but we should hurry, especially if the children are out of harm's way. And then all of a sudden we hear Saw, and he's just on the ground, beat up. And it says, ugh. And he says, sorry, I know I gotta get up. And Jinbei's like, you alright? Nami says, okay, here we go. Zeus, mission critical. What's very interesting is a lot of people have been having a lot of conversations based upon the fact that the size of Loki in his dragon form. He's gigantic. He's so huge. This just spells it out. But I like, if we were size scaling on the fact that, the difference between Loki and Kaido in their dragon forms, Loki's like, I would say at least bare minimum 3 times bigger than Kaido, maybe 4 times bigger than Kaido. So, I don't know. I mean, he might even be 10 times bigger. It's hard to scale that. But it's very interesting to say the least. All right, and then we got Nami says, okay, here we go. Zeus, mission critical. And then he goes, put out the fire on the library and the school. And he says, I'm ready, Nami. I've absorbed plenty of water. And Sanji's like, "That's our Nami. She's always prepared." And she goes, "Pouring rain, tempo," and uh, it's just like going all over the fires. And Robin says, "Nami, Zeus, hurry!" And then he says, "Yeah, fire out, go out, fire." And says, "Hang on, you're breaking the word." What? And it says, "Who said you were allowed to put out that fire?" And then it says, monster, look out, Zeus." And he goes, "Huh? You promised to you promised to cast aside the history of the world." And it looks like a giant, like another dragon or a worm comes over and takes a bite out of Zeus. And he's like, "Ah." And then they're like, "Zeus." And he's like, "A snake? No, it's a lindworm." And it says, "What I'm afraid of, lindworm." And Nami goes, "Zeus." And Sanji says, "That was our one hope of putting the fire out. Who is that?" And he said, "Is that one of the three demons?" It says, "Activate ODC." And then all of a sudden, these things fly over. It says, "Collect heat energy." And they just start sucking up the fire. And Killingham's like, "What are those? The fire's been put out or frozen?" Interesting. And Robin goes, "Huh? What does this mean?" And Saul says, "We're in the clear. The school and library's fires are out." And Lilith says, "All natural disasters are a maelstrom of energy." And then it says, "Here you go, Frankie. Try using that." And he grabs it and it says, "Hey, this bottle is about to burst." And she said, "Indeed, I call it Super Vega Cola. Your innards are immaculately designed, just as advanced as the pacifistas, which is why I was stunned to learn you only use cola to power yourself." And she says, "You see, Frankie, fuel is passion. Use this stuff and your raw power will explode." Dude, this chapter feels like it's flying right now. Hold on, so I'm gonna need to take a moment. So this is so interesting to me because this is what we thought was gonna happen in Egghead. We thought Vegapunk and Frankie were gonna, fucking be in love with each other, and it was gonna be so cool to see them cooperate and like take these moments and show us exactly what two science geniuses can do. But now we're getting it on Elbaf, which I like. I like that we're still getting it, regardless of when we get it, right? So I think it's great that we're getting this. So I'm interested to see what Frankie can do with this Super Vega Cola and if he's going to learn how to utilize it himself and make it himself so that way he gets an upgrade himself or even upgrades the Sunny. The coup de burst, is that going to be, something that can go instead of what was it like 10 kilometers or whatever, maybe it goes 100, maybe it can go so far, maybe it can fly, who knows, like there's so much that has to do with that. I also really love this for Killingham and Sanji because it seems like they're gonna like at least basically pop off into a fight. because they're closest. I don't think they're going to be the end game opponents for each other. It would be interesting. I'll give it that. Because I'm a heavy Sanji fights Sommers fan, and I still am to an extent. I still think that that's the best option because I think that they fight each other and are antitheses of each other. Killingham, low key, I want to be an Usopp opponent. And I want Zoro to be fighting other people. Um, but yeah, because like Zoro doesn't need a 1v1 every arc, you know? Like, he truly doesn't. So for him to have a 1v1 here doesn't really matter. Um, I think Sanji deserves a 1v1. You know, he didn't really get one in Egghead, you know, because I thought that he should be a Lucci opponent as well. But, you know, we didn't get that, so it is what it is. But I'm very much interested in what's going to happen next. Anyway, all right. That was my piece. Let's get back to it. So Zeus says, "Oh, it's so dark in here. It's too dark in here." And then he says, "Help me." And Nami's like, "Zeus, or hang on, Zeus, I'll save you." Robin goes, "Saul, can you get us to the library?" And Saul says, "Wheeze, wheeze, you bet I will." He says, "I know you must be worried sick about the world history O'Hara left behind, Robin." And you see, like, um, Killingham just, like, plotting. And he says, "Devour the library, Sleep Tid. Don't give them a shred of hope." He says, "Only when history is ended can the new world come about." Interesting. The new world come about. And then we get Jinbei being like, "I'll rescue Zeus, Nami. My fist should be enough to make the beast throw up." And then Killingham says, "Ew, it's a fish, man. The ugliest species in the world. I'm gonna puke. Good thing my mask keeps my air clean." Interesting. Because he looks like a fish man. Everyone's thinking he's a fish man. I still think he's a fish man. But it's interesting he's like racist against his own kind. Honestly, that'd be a layer to this that I feel like needs to be explored. Um, Sanji goes, "Just the sort of elitist mindset I'd expect from a celestial dragon." And he says, "For the crimes of being ignorant of Jinbei, former warlord of the sea, and insulting a member of our crew, I think you need a hole in that mask of yours." Dude, that's a tough Sanji line. What a fucking G. And the fact that he's so willing to defend Jinbei like that, yo, I love this for him. And then all of a sudden, we see fucking Frankie coming out of nowhere, and he says, "Super, look at my hops. All the muscles of my body are screaming. Any monster I unleash on is gonna cry uncle after a single punch." And it's like he's like right next to the worm, and we see super strong, and then Jinbei's like fishman karate secret art, and Sanji's like Ifrit Jambe, and he's like right up in fucking Killingham's face. Oh, let's look at this. Super strong Dexter, Vagabond Drill, Con Kasser Crush, and he is just denting Killingham's head clean in, and they are destroying the Sleep Tid. And Frankie's attack is destroying this whole thing's face, and it actually mangled him so bad the head came off of the sleep tid. This is beautiful. Then we get Western Village. The giant pirates turn demon. Dory and Bragi. It says Gia. It says versus the warriors of the Western Village. And looks like there's the people who are getting wounded are starting to grow back. It says every cut we make just seals itself up. And he says, I know these men, it's hard enough just to bring myself to attack these familiar faces. And he said, so how are we supposed to stop them? Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to see what happened between Dory and Bragi after they cut each other down. It looks like they're getting up right now after cutting each other down. They're like, yeah, gah. And they're like, Captain's Dory, Bragi. And he says, are you in there, Dory? And he's like, just barely, Bragi. And Zoro notices, and it says, I'm living through my deepest shame, hurling insults I don't believe at my beloved Chief Yarul. And it says, if I were to take his head, it would shame my family for generations. And then Dory says, yeah, it can't happen, so we're in agreement. And they're like, of course, farewell, partner. He says, we'll never give in to demons. And it says, that century of battles was the best time of my life. And he says, farewell, partner. And you see them clanking back on Little Garden. And it says, are we warriors of Elbaf? When we die with pride. And they both decapitate each other. And they're like, captains. And Zoro's like, Dory, Bragi. This is crazy right now. And they're like, Captain Dory, Captain Bragi, why did you do it? And interesting. And so it's like they, all of a sudden, the flaming circle around them forms, and all of a sudden they flip over back to who they were originally. And they're there, and they're like, ugh. And it says, huh? Are they? It says, they're back. It says, and their heads are on. Are on. And Jarul said, this must mean. And then it says, if they die, they stop being demons. And Dory and Bragi get back up and say, even the most mangled corpse is the picture of health when you flip it over. Interesting. Interesting. And Zoro says, so we can do whatever we want. And Hardin says, no need to hold back. All we have to do is inflict fatal damage to turn them back to normal. And Dory says, like chopping their heads off or running them through the heart. Come on, these are our comrades. We can't do that, can we? And Zoro says, and it says, hey, get the children inside. And Zoro says, you hate to see it. And Dory and Bragi says, it's a real shame. It pains me on the inside. And Hardin says, a real heartbreaker. And Stanson says, don't take it personally. Be prepared to die. Interesting. So when they get, like, basically, like, an impossible amount of damage, like, murderous damage, like they could die, is when they revert from Dami Reversi, which kind of checks out, right? Because if you think about it, it took Roger and Garp absolutely basically wiping rocks for him to flip back to normal. And he was completely wiped out. What's interesting about this one is, and maybe it's because of the difference, is Dory and Broggy gave each other fatal damage basically, and then they flipped over, and then they just got back up. They literally got back up and are like, all right, well, let's keep fighting. But when Rox got dealt fatal damage, he was like cooked to where it was like he's not getting up, and that's when Fagarlin Garling came through with the other knights and killed him. So I kind of get it. I feel like that's the one piece of it that I'm missing is like if they were able to, but then again, maybe it was because Rox fought them for such a long time that it like expended his hockey and his power in that state to the point where he would have been so exhausted. And since Dory and Broggy literally only after getting Domi reversied like to traveled to the other village, and the only thing, oh, excuse me, the only thing that they actually did was kill each other basically. They didn't go for a prolonged fight. They didn't do anything crazy outside of that. It was truly like they only basically fought each other for a second, so they may still be fresh. That's the way that I would look at it, because otherwise it kind of doesn't make sense. So I'm hoping that that's maybe something that's revealed eventually, like the fatigue that you get in Domi Reversi is still the fatigue your body would have had you been doing it yourself under no one's control. So that's at least what I'm thinking. Flintages said fatal damage. Yeah. So basically, which I mean, again, it's one of those things where like the Domi Reversi to Rocks, I mean, he got attacked a lot, but nothing that seemed like it would kill him. I'm wondering, eventually we're gonna get this fleshed out, but I just want to know what's the difference between Domi Reversi and the Covenants. Is it the Covenants that you doesn't matter if you take fatal damage and you can just come back from it? Like there's just so many unknowns to it. I'm very interested to see how they do this. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. It looked like Frankie just got a power up, which is I love for Frankie. Um, I need to see the rest of the Straw Hats give their level up here. I'm assuming, my assumption, is this that this moment where Sanji absolutely just like caves in what's his name's head, Killingham. I have a feeling that Killingham is going to recover from this, and they're still going to scrap. I do, however, think that there needs to be some damage somewhere along the line, or like some sort of like Robin or Nami need to be in like some serious trouble for him to then get to the point where he's like, okay, I'm gonna unlock my conquerors here because this is just a straight Ifrit Jambe like attack. But I need there to be real stakes for Sanji, and I need him to pull out some dope moves and bring in some black lightning. But yeah, no, I love this. I love this move. I love the fact that super strong Dexter is a very interesting name um for him. Um Flimray just said, I love Frankie's power up. Always figured it'd be a physical change, but the series is giving towards energy related themes. Yeah, I definitely thought that we would be getting more when it comes to Frankie's like design change or something like that. Something physical, yeah. Like him incorporating even like uh, the gloves that Vegapunk had because they made such a intense emphasis on them, like the photon gloves that are able to touch inanimate or like intangible things. I thought that would be like boom. That's an easy thing for Frankie to add to his own hands, so that way the next time they square off against a Logia, all of a sudden, yo, why is Frankie touching a Logia? That's kind of crazy. And it's like, oh, I incorporated this stuff, incorporating other different technologies, even stuff like the bubble gun, having Frankie be able to shoot out bubbles that act like sea prism stone, maybe even incorporating green blood, so he's able to utilize someone's devil fruit for a short period of time. Like there's so much that could have been done because there was so much information and different stuff given to Egghead. And this is just like kind of crazy that we're getting this in Elbaf, but it's also kind of cool. Like I kind of dig it in the sense that we're getting this now because I think that this is truly like the arc where the Straw Hats need to reach a level that is like so far above um, where they are now, and I think that this is our last like huge power up arc before we start getting into the final war and stuff like that. So like this is probably where, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's Usopp's arc. It's Usopp's arc." I'm like, I think it's the Crew's arc. I think that we're gonna get a lot of stuff going on with Brooke Gunko, type stuff. We're obviously getting Lilith helping out um, Frankie. I think there's an avenue for Usopp for sure. Nami, she's seeing that she can utilize things more a little bit. I wonder if there's more that can happen with that. Like, again, if anything, like her wand should be able to use the bubbles from Egghead to stop devil fruit users and stuff like that. Like that would be, it's again, that's an easy thing to incorporate. She already uses bubbles basically to have weather eggs and things like that. So I'm telling you, like this, I think this is a lot of people are saying like, oh, this is Usopp's big power up arc. It's like, I don't know. I think it's kind of the Cruise arc. I think everyone was excited to get to Elbaf, and now we have a threat that is big enough that all of them need to be a part of it. So, but yeah, that's just my thoughts on it. So, we're gonna quick run through this and go from there. We'll start at the beginning. This whole thing with Lilith, Frankie, and Bonnie is interesting. And then, of course, the Straw Hats kind of like jumping in because they know that this matters to Robin. This whole like area being burned down, like the library and the school. Like, that's a huge thing. I agree. Crew arc. Yeah. Like, I don't think that this is just a singular person's arc when it comes to this. I think this is a major, this is a now Yonko crew finally learning, now that they've grown individually, how to work together as a team in a way that is Yonko level. And I think that that's really cool. And I think that that's why this whole arc is probably going to give all of them a chance to shine in their own respective manner. Um, I don't think it's going to be one person's arc. But yeah, the way that Nami jumped right into action, same with Jinbei. They were both like, yo, we need to stop that thing from burning down. And Zeus was doing good until the worm popped out. And then as soon as we saw Killingham and stuff like that, you got Frankie and Lilith kind of just like immediately going into, you know, Flynn says, it's to convey the crews together is capable of thwarting even the world government at its highest. 100%. 100%. Because, they need to be known that they can handle this sort of thing. And I think that this is them very much showcasing that. And I think that this is going to provide the world government with like a, hey, these guys are kind of unfuckwittable right now. We maybe need to deploy a bigger force to be able to handle them. The worm taking Zeus, and then like Robin being like, oh, like they've stopped the fire with that, but then Killingham just being like, I'll just have him eat it anyway. Who cares? And then just the combined effort of all three of these guys, Sanji, Jinbei, Frankie, to completely destroy this sleep tid to the point where Frankie punched its head clear off, and like um the way Jinbei hit him so hard with Vagabond Drill that shot Zeus out of its open neck is fucking nuts. And then Sanji just completely getting up into Killingham's face and basically turning him into Charlos when Leo and the other guy Sai attacked him and like caving in his head. Yo, celestial dragons stay be getting that same punishment. Um, just super cool. And then this moment of like Dory and Bragi, like when they have their senses about them just a little bit enough to kill themselves, kill each other, and flip back over. Very, very, very cool. Because it basically answered the question for Zoro and the other new giant warrior pirates. And they're like, oh, so we just have to basically murder all of you? Somebody get the kids inside. They ain't trying to see this. Like, that's kind of tough. I like that. And they're all those giant warrior or giant Dami Reversi things. I don't even suspect that they're going to be that way by next chapter. Because by next chapter, I'm pretty sure they're going to be so packed up that it's not going to matter. That's just my thoughts. Um, so, yeah. She's so cute when she sleeps. She's out. Um, but yeah, no, it was a great chapter. I really liked it. I'm sad that we didn't get more Luffy, Loki stuff because I'm not gonna lie, dog. I love Loki so far. I think he's so great. I want him to join the crew so bad because like I could basically make a crew, and it would probably be like a Yonko level crew of characters that I like outside of the Straw Hats. Like it would basically be Loki, Yamato, Law, like Katakuri, and like they just would be so great. Like those four characters are like my top four outside of the Straw Hats. And I want him to join so bad, but I understand that he can't because I mean he could fly technically as a dragon right next to the ship, but that's still kind of like egregious. So I don't know. All I know is I miss Loki and Luffy, but I'm excited to where all this other stuff is going because it's definitely getting to the point where we're going to um, get more information, get more information, more insight, and get into the real fights, the 1v1s, and then finally get Emu facing off with Loki and Luffy, which I'm so excited for. So, oh, he woke up. Hello. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it. I would say this chapter is like a solid 8, 8.5. Yeah, I'd say 8.5. It had a lot of stuff that I really liked. And yeah, I'm just really excited for next chapter. Flintage said part of Hardin's crew is still part of the crew, but I think Luffy will show Loki he's meant to lead his people. Thematically, Luffy installs new kings. Yes, but my whole thing is Loki's dream doesn't revolve around being the leader. Loki's dream is to seek vengeance upon the world government for what he did to his dad. That's why he went out to sea originally. And Hardin's dream is to be king, and it is to unite all the giants of the world. So for me, it feels like that should be Hardin's path, is to be the new ruler of Elbaf, while Loki is allowed to use, after so long of being not free, is should be him being able to go freely and go with Luffy, because he knows that's like Nika and the Warrior of Liberation will seek out the most oppressive thing inadvertently. And I think that his dream revolves more closely to Luffy's dream than Hardin's does. I do. I think that. Ugh. Ugh. But anyway, overall, it was a really great chapter. I loved a lot of this stuff. I love the crew rocking together the way they were here. And now most of them, outside of Luffy and Zoro, are all in the same place. So I really like that, because I like to see them interact together, and I like to see them come together as a Yonko crew and really just do work, because that's what they did. And as soon as everyone was free, they started to get active, and they started to go against the things that were happening. So I love that for them. I really do. So super excited for what we're going to see in 1177. Can't wait. I think we are on a break week, sadly. But 1177 is looking promising. But yeah, so overall, I thought it was a great chapter. Like I said, 8.5. I really enjoyed it. And, I enjoyed talking about it and sharing my thoughts. Flintagious, thank you so much for coming through. I say this every stream. One Piece is better as a conversation. I love having that conversation with you guys. So if you're not here for the live chat, please leave a comment. If you're watching it back after the fact, I respond to all of them, and I really enjoy talking One Piece. It's one of my favorite things to do. So thank you guys so much as always, and I will see you not next week, because there won't be a chapter, but I will see you the following. And I will probably on Thursday, I might be going live on TikTok with Anime NYC. Anime Nerd NYC. So, or no, I don't know what I'm talking about. NYC Anime Nerd, that's the one. So it's going to be really good, and I'm super excited for it. Is that delicious? Is that delicious hand? See you, Taku. See you next time. See you next time too. Hopefully you come through again. I loved having our conversation. But anyway, I will see you guys next time. Have a wonderful week, break week, and I'll see you the following. All right. You got anything to say? Okay. Yeah. See you guys next time.